for no good reason whatsoever, other than it being a Tuesday night and I have some free time. So I thought I'd go live. Say hi to everybody. If anybody wants to chat, the chat box is open. I'm just going to talk about myself for a little bit because it's the best subject I know. But anyways, so you may notice some of my background music. It's really just some classical music, Johann Sebastian Bach. For those of you who may or may not even know me so well, I like to listen to this when I'm just kind of relaxing, chilling. Maybe when I'm reading a little bit, just have it on low in the background. So I thought it'd be appropriate for tonight. Just have it on here. It's about 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. Really cold for South Florida right now. It's in the... I don't think this is right. I have this app. It's the Weather Channel for Samsung, but I don't think it's right. It never really updates correctly. It's currently 55 where I'm at right now in Miami, Florida. Yep, that is pretty chilly. So yeah, that's what's going on here right now. Didn't do much today, just worked, did a little reading, had some dinner, and I'm just hanging out in my study, office, whatever you want to call it, here in my place in Doral. So really, I just kind of want to know what everybody else is up to. If you're doing anything interesting, cool, or if you just want to make fun of me for a little while, it's pretty easy to do. But yeah, this is a really chill weekday evening for me. So usually I'll do like a little workout in the evening if I didn't go at lunch, but I just didn't feel like it today. I actually got Chipotle. Yeah, not the most healthy thing in the world, but all I had was rice, beans, and chicken in it. So nothing else, no cheese, no guac, nothing else, just plain. I probably could have made it here. Would have been a lot cheaper, but I guess it's not. But anyways, so I'm not gonna play a video game. I don't really feel like it. I don't feel like sitting here just playing something right now. I could. I got a game for the PS5, Fallout 76. That I should be playing with somebody, but it's just one of those nights I don't really feel like it. So I'm just relaxing, chilling, checking my email. Sorry for everybody out there in the Twitch universe. I'm not some hot chick. I don't have my boobs out. It's cold. But under normal circumstances, I most probably would. Just to get the clicks. But anyways. So, yeah. That's what's going on right now. I don't know if anybody's been, following the news. But a lot of celebrities have been dying lately. Screech, the guy who played Mark Twain, Hal Holbrook, that was his name. So 2021 is kind of off to a rough start, being early February already. But hopefully it starts getting a little bit better. Some vaccines rolling out. That's what we're all hoping for anyways. But anyways, it looks like I got 2 people watching me on Facebook right now. How's it going, all 2 of you? If anything, hopefully you enjoy the music. I like Bach because it's very easy listening. There's nothing really to surprise you when you're listening to Bach. Of course, if you want to listen to like Berlioz or something like that, it gets really hyped up. It gets really fast. This is the kind of music that you see in movies when they're trying to present aristocracy or something like that. So I think it's just chill and just fitting. But anyways, just here. I'm having a little bit of coffee. I'm just kind of in the coffee mood, I guess, out of my big Ninja Turtle cup. That's almost as big as my face, which isn't saying much anyways. But yeah, it's coffee time. 8 o'clock in the evening. I'll be up all night now because of this. But anyways, so let's find some interesting topics to talk about. Let's see. Let's stir the pot a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of CNN politics here. Ooh, okay. So apparently Jeff Bezos is stepping down as Amazon CEO. Don't know what that's about. But I mean, he's a billionaire anyways. I mean, I don't know what more he's trying to do. So I guess pass it on to the next person, just kind of like what Microsoft does. But that's what's going on. He wrote a letter to the employees. I'm not interested in that. Oh boy. Yeah, so I really don't know. I really don't know what if anybody's been following this. One Congresswoman from the 14th Congressional District of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's making some noise in politics right now, I guess, as you know, most politicians like to do for attention. But she's saying some really grim things about some massacres that have happened, some school shootings, things like that. And she's really going off the rails. If you haven't looked it up, I mean, you should, because it's really disturbing. I mean, even so much so that her party, she's a Republican, her own party is distancing themselves from her because, I mean, she's just really, really, really out there. She's one of those conspiracy theorists that, you know, believe that QAnon is real and that the election was stolen and all of these things. It's just really out there. And what people fail to actually talk about in the news about her is that she ran practically unopposed in her district. I mean, her district was heavily favored to go Republican anyways. I think they got 70% of the vote or something during the election, the general election, before that went to Trump and then Trump again in 2016. But her Democratic opponent had to drop out. I think it's because of some health issues, but she ran practically unopposed. But what bothers me is that she won the primaries, the Republican primaries. So the 14th Congressional District of Georgia really likes her, and they really want her to do the things that she's doing. This is her first term. She's been in Congress for not even a month yet, and these are the things that she's doing. Her first piece of legislation was an impeachment article against Biden, President Biden. Okay, that's your right if that's what you want to do, but that's your first piece of legislation. That's your very, very, very first piece. That's the first thing you draft. Instead of addressing the issues in the 14th Congressional District and trying to do things to better your district, you're passing an impeachment article. I guess that's what they want her to do. But I guess I don't know. But we'll see. I know Democrats want to. They want to strip her of her committeeships, and I really just don't know what her party is going to do. But it's going to get to the point where these stories and these lies are going to stretch so far, and it's just going to be, okay, you're really out there, and no one is going to take you seriously. I mean, I don't know how many people really do. There are some people that probably take her very seriously, that believes everything that comes out of her mouth, or her herself believes all of these things that she's talking about. I don't know. I want to believe that as a society, as a country, as a people, that we are smarter than that. But there are some that really just believe some of these things just because it comes from a certain person. It doesn't matter what what it is, whether it's politically charged, spiritually charged, or just something that's talked about. But they'll believe it because it came from this one person. So, yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. But according to CNN, Republican senators distance themselves from Marjorie Taylor Greene as she meets with McCarthy, who is the House of Representatives minority leader at the present moment. So it's going to be interesting to see because there's, politicians lie. That's politics, right? Or stretch the truth. That's just kind of what happens. Or they just hold back from telling the truth. No, I'm not. I'm just talking about topics. It doesn't have to be politics. It's just I just brought it up. I've just been kind of following it a little bit. We can talk about whatever. It's my background is political science, so I got my bachelor's in from the University of Texas, San Antonio. So I follow it quite a bit. I'm very much involved, and I mean I enjoy what politics and government can do for people. It's not that I have a deep interest in the political game. It's gross and disgusting. It really is. But it's how things work in this country. So I'm more interested in the government aspect of it, of how things happen, procedure, how things are done, rules, the laws, and all those sort of things. So I guess I like to say we're talking government, because when you talk politics, there's just never a right answer. But anyways, so we'll move on. It's kind of a boring subject anyways. Let's see. All right, so we know that the Super Bowl is coming up this Sunday, right? It's Tom Brady, again, in his 10th Super Bowl, going against the current Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. So I was lucky to be there for the Chiefs and the Niners when they played here in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium, and it was one hell of an experience, my God. But there's only going to be 25,000 people in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa for the game. So it's a significantly reduced amount for that stadium. But apparently the NFL is providing free PPE kits to Super Bowl attendees when they arrive at the stadium. Well, geez, I would hope so, because considering these tickets probably cost like $5,000 to get in, maybe more, I have no idea. Yeah, why don't you give them just a little something for free? Like, yeah, here's some hand sanitizer and something to put over your face. So, good on you, NFL. I'm glad it's newsworthy. Maybe I'm just being a hater because I hate Tom Brady. Which I am. And those of you who know me, I am a huge sports hater. If you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, if you're not talking about the Dallas Cowboys, I don't care. All right? Well, what do you think about the Niners? I don't care. What do you think about the Chiefs? I don't care. What does that have to do with the Cowboys? Nothing. So, what do you think about LeBron James? I don't care. I just know the Spurs swept him in the finals, 2007. That's all I know. I mean, I do know, but I don't care. But yes, I'm a huge, huge sports hater. Can I appreciate how good another team is? No, not really. Not when it comes to the NFL and NBA. In college, I'm more forgiving. I'm a Longhorn fan. My sister went to UT Austin. Notre Dame fan. My dad went to Notre Dame. So I'm a fan of those football teams. Now, here's another funny thing. Check this out. I went to the University of Miami to get my master's, and I could not stomach a football game from them. Now, maybe I am a little bit of a hater, but I grew up with Catholics versus convicts, where in 1988, the Fighting Irish played the Hurricanes and beat them on their way to a national championship. Well, here's where the conflict happens, because Jimmy Johnson, right, the god of the Dallas Cowboys, was coach of the Hurricanes at the time. Michael Irvin, the playmaker, was on that team, and Notre Dame beat them. So, but that was before they went to the Cowboys. This was before Michael Irvin got drafted. So I grew up, buying into the whole Catholics versus convicts thing, and it was great. It was a great rivalry, but I just could not get in to that football team. I have maybe 3 pieces of apparel that have University of Miami on it. One because it was on sale at Sears before they closed up shop here in Miami, and the other one is a shirt that I got for free from the School of Business. So that's I have a pair of shorts because I think I got those for free too. But there we go. So my my interests in sports is very narrow. I know sports. I love football. I love basketball. But my passion for a specific team is very, 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 very narrow. And I'm a super hater. I'm a super, super hater about it. Like, oh, what do you think about the Saints? They suck. Why? Because they're not the Cowboys. That's just what it is, and people just kind of get kind of pissed off about it. Like, I don't care. I can like what I like. I can hate what I hate when it comes to sports. So that's what it is. I'm unapologetic about it, as everybody knows. So, so do I care about the Super Bowl? No, I really don't. But do I want to see Tom Brady lose? Yeah, because he's kind of a dick. So, yeah, I kind of want to see him lose. But anyways, beyond that, that's my opinion. What's yours? That'll be interesting to see. But anyways, rapper known for the Nene dance is charged with murdering his cousin? It's interesting. I'm not quite familiar with that. Wow. That's pretty bad. Anyways, I really don't want to talk about something grim like that. Now, what is interesting to me about what's going on right now is this whole GameStop stock shortage thing. So there's a lot of controversy on this because there's a lot of people with a lot of money that are trying to change the narrative on this. So GameStop is a sinking ship. All right, I've been saying this for the last year and a half that this company is about to either go under, be bought out, which they tried to sell themselves, but they couldn't find a buyer, or completely change their business model. Now, just for some context on that before we start getting into the stock shortage, is that I believe, right, that the GameStop current model of the trading in games and trading in their systems is not sustainable. I think that every month that passes, it is less sustainable because of the digital distribution networks that PlayStation, Microsoft, and Steam for the PC that they all have. So these digital distribution networks work out very well for a couple reasons. One, it's convenient. You don't have to go anywhere. 2, there are sales all the time. All the time. If you ever get on PSN and you start trying to download a game, they will tell you that there's a certain game is either $10 off, $20 off. And these are sales that the big box retailers don't normally do. But of course, because it's on their system, it's their digital distribution platform, Sony and Microsoft can do whatever they want, right? And I guess if the developer and the publisher decide that they want to put something on sale, they can do the same thing too. So it's very convenient. What you don't have anymore is you don't have something physical. You don't have something tangible in your hand to take to GameStop and trade in. Now, they've been trying to branch out to other things that won't have that kind of business model, that you just can't digitally distribute, like a phone, a system, an iPad, those sort of things. I don't believe they continue to do that. But that model is dying, especially now with the PS5 that came out, right? The one I have can take physical media, but there is a lower price system that doesn't have physical media. It doesn't have a CD or DVD or Blu-ray slot in it, but it doesn't compromise on the performance. So You're just not getting that digital media. You're just not getting that physical media option when you buy it. So now you're looking at systems that are having that. Xbox did it with their Xbox One Series X. Now they had a digital only. I don't believe that the white Xbox. You know what? I don't know. Hold on. Xbox Series X, Series S. That's the one. I don't know if that one takes. No, it's digital only. Okay, so the white smaller one is digital only. The big, well, that's not that big, but the Series X does take physical media. So we're kind of moving into that phased approach to where digital distribution is going to be not only the norm, but it's going to be the only thing. That's all that's going to happen. But why does it even matter? Because when I buy a game, if I were to buy it on a disc and I throw it into my console, it has to download anyways. It has to download patches, updates, and it makes you put it onto the hard disk drive. So it takes time anyways. So why would I go buy a game, throw it in there just to sit there and wait for it all to get loaded into my hard drive? Let me just buy it online. I can do it on the PlayStation app, do it at work, and then by the time I come home that afternoon, the game's downloaded and ready to go. It's easier. It's more convenient. Again, I'm 40 years old. I'm not a 16-year-old or a 12-year-old that has such abilities, but it is more convenient for the parents. So, with that, GameStop's model currently is the trade-in game. They make huge money off of it because, one, they were acquiring assets. They were acquiring all of this product via trade-in. They were paying for it up front, either with store credit or cash. The cash option was severely diminished versus the store credit option. And then you'd turn around and you'd sell it for a good markup. That's what they would do. And it was a really good business model for a little while. That's when you had cartridges and CDs and games like that. Now we're moving away from that. So what happens to GameStop's business model? What happens to that cash cow? Well, it's not there. It just isn't. Now they've tried to move things over to nostalgia and get, and I've bought stuff. I have these little, things that I would buy, for video games and the nerd culture, at GameStop or at their sister store, Think Geek. And I don't know how profitable that is for them, because then you just become another retailer. But again, now you have to compete with Amazon. You have to compete with some of these other online stores that may have it for cheap. But again, we're not quite there yet. But I do believe that GameStop, the way that we see it now, is a sinking ship with their stores at every corner. It's that business model will diminish. So, with that being said, their stock prices have been very low. They had a very grim holiday season for 2020, as I suspected. I believed that they were going to go under shortly after, but they didn't. But a bunch of hedge fund managers believed that they could short the stock for GameStop. So they borrowed a bunch of shares that they could try to turn around and sell back, and make a profit on it, believing that it would drop even lower. Well, they would have been right if the Reddit community didn't catch on and see what they were doing. So the Reddit community, Wall Street Bets, right, very intelligently and collectively, they started buying up stock. So when you buy stock, you increase its value because of its popularity. This has nothing to do, now mind you, this has nothing to do with what GameStop is doing. This has nothing to do with the belief that the company of GameStop has made some innovation or they have done something that's going to save their business. No, that company is crap and it's going to go under really soon. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So these hedge fund managers decided to short the GameStop stock. But instead, the Reddit community started buying up all these stocks. They started buying up more, increasing the price instead of it dropping. So it was going up, and all these hedge fund managers that bought this stock for really, really low, thinking that it was going to drop even more, now are losing billions of dollars because the stock price went up, and they have to pay that money back. They're losing. They're probably going to go under as well. They may have to fold because all of their investors that have all these millions of dollars in their hedge funds are now lost. They lost. They're going to pull out, or they've already pulled out. But what's interesting is that you're seeing, like on CNBC, some of these big media companies, and this is where I don't really believe in fake news, but this is where I believe that narratives are trying to change. Is you have these popular billionaires, not popular, but some of these real billionaires that go on there, and they're trying to shift it around, trying to blame the Reddit community for what's happening, and having this woe is me story when they're billionaires, and so screw them. What the Reddit community did collectively is nothing short of remarkable, because it was strictly an online community, and they started buying up all these stocks, and hedge fund managers are losing their jobs, and they're losing billions. Now, I don't like to see people lose money, right? But what they were doing is really sick by trying to short a whole company. You're taking a company and you're exploiting it and trying to make money off of it because it's doing so poorly. You have to remember that. That's what's happening here, is that these hedge fund managers that are trying to short the stock of a company is exploiting how badly a company is doing. This is exactly what happened in 2008 when the housing crisis happened. There's a movie called The Big Short, and it's with Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt's in it too. It's a really good movie because it explains at the very fundamental level how stock works and how shorting happens. So some of these people on Wall Street, they saw what was happening to the housing market. They saw the lending practices. They saw all of these things that were happening that showed that the bubble was about to burst and the housing market was about to crash. So they bought these shares, right? And they shorted them, and some people made a lot of money by betting against the housing market because the housing market lost. And now we're still kind of in a period of recovery. Here we are in 2021. This happened in 2008. And that's exactly what happened. But this is only happening for one company. That shorting happened to an entire industry. The whole housing market collapsed. So, what does that mean for GameStop? Well, yeah, it's kind of cool, but you can't do anything with that. You sell stock in order to reinvest into your business and grow your business. You want to show growth. That's what stocks help you do. It helps you gain capital so that you can either do a new project, have some R&D, except they don't produce anything. They're a retailer, and that's why they're such an easy target. If this was something like Apple, right, or let's say even Microsoft or any other manufacturing firm, this would be a lot more difficult because they can always make something new and really increase their stock price and then reinvest in their company. But it's not going to happen for GameStop. So even though this is happening right now, and there are some people making some money off of it, it's a short-term thing. It's not sustainable. It's not going to go on. But what has happened is nothing short of remarkable, and I'm really impressed with the way that a community can actually come together and organize, because that's one of my main focuses of my doctorate is organization, business organization. But that's what's happening now, and it's just going to be really interesting to see. But what even makes it more interesting is that you have the narrative trying to be shifted by these billionaires and these hedge fund managers. They're trying to shift things, but then you have some really smart people, Mark Cuban being one of them, saying, you know what, screw you guys. These guys are doing these things. These guys are doing something incredible and amazing. We can learn from that. Well, yeah, you can, and you should. Because shorting a company, I mean, yes, I'm a capitalist, but again, it's exploitation, and I'm not about exploitation. And, you know, I would say poor GameStop, but no, screw you, GameStop. You're just kind of stuck in the middle of it. But that's where that business is going. The video game industry is moving away from the physical media. All of these companies see that, they know that, they're preparing for it. Whenever Microsoft, Sony are having internal strategy meetings, developers are strategizing what they're going to do for the near future on their games and how they're going to distribute it and what they're going to do. GameStop's not even in the conversation. I guarantee you they're not, because they're not betting on them being around. Now, how do you sell your consoles? Yeah, you're still going to have the need for that, but you got your Best Buys, you got your Amazons. And in most cases, you can only get them online now, because that's exactly how I got my PS5 and my Xbox. I had to be in this digital queue and click, refresh until I got it. Got lucky. Not everybody was so lucky, but I was able to do it. But that's what you're looking at now. This whole physical media thing is just done. The way that they've been saying for years that print is dead. I don't believe print will ever be dead. I think you're always going to have the hybrid. But if there's a way to make money and save money and make it more convenient for your customers, that's the way that the industry will go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of legislation or lobbying tries to happen. That is how business will work, and then that is how businesses will succeed, and consumers will always win. The perfect example of that is Netflix. Netflix is and has been the pioneer of streaming services. They started off as mail order DVDs because Blockbuster, right, in their infinite wisdom, and I say that facetiously, it had some of these exorbitant fees for being late on returning your movies and how much the movies were, how many nights per week you can have them. It was a bad business model. So you have the likes of Netflix and even Redbox come in, and they completely change the way that people are seeing their movies. Yes, it's done by mail. Yes, you wait a few days, but then what do? They move over to streaming as internet connections become faster, stronger, able to sustain HD, right, technology. And now you have the same distribution method, but it's more convenient. Not only can you have it on your computer, on your phone, on your TV, on your laptop, right? But you can have it on your consoles as well. So when Netflix was first starting out, they would actually either have it available for download, the app, or you could get a CD or DVD and put it into your console, and then it would run off of that. The app would run off of that. I believe that it was on the PS2. I don't remember if the PS2 was so sophisticated enough that it could do that at the time. I'll have to look into that. But that's what killed Blockbuster. Blockbuster actually had the opportunity to invest or purchase Netflix. Well, no, they waited way too long. And then they started their Blockbuster on demand. Then they started, but way too late. Netflix was ahead of the game, and they were investing heavily. And what happens? I mean, Blockbuster and these other places just go under because they couldn't sustain. They tried and they maintained, and they said, you know what? No, we're going to stick with this business model because it's the most profitable. And then it just can't now because Netflix came over and undid it because it was just more convenient. It was less expensive. I mean, even now it's less expensive because I don't remember how much we're paying for Netflix. I know the prices went up, but still it's less expensive. So, oh wow, it's gonna go to $18 a month. Okay. Well, anyways, so still $18 for a whole month for 30 days. Think about it, and you have an unlimited supply of content on there. Original content, TV shows, movies, incredible. Still, I mean, that's something that you could not get from the Blockbuster model. You couldn't get that because then you have to get individual VHSs or individual DVDs for whatever, and then the prices would go up and up and up and up. I mean, by the time you leave, if you have so many movies, you're probably already leaving spending $20, $25. And you only get a few nights of it. $18 a month is still cheaper in 2021 than what Blockbuster ever was back then for the amount of content that you're getting anyways. So that's just kind of how businesses will work. The other example I wanted to kind of bring up, and we're not quite there yet, but there is a practice in a lot of states called franchise laws. And these franchise laws are in place for a couple of reasons. And I'm talking about vehicle sales at this point. So whenever you go around, you see like a Ford, a Hyundai, Jaguar dealership, and you see some dude's name in front of it, right? What do they have? Tom Benson, who's the owner of the Saints. He owned a bunch of car dealerships in San Antonio. And so you have Benson, Honda, Ford. In San Antonio, you also have Ancira Ford or Ancira Kia and all these things. Well, the reason you have that is because individual people would have these dealerships, and then they would make deals to carry vehicles from a certain company. So they would do this, and then they would sell back to the consumer, right? The front-end consumer. So you had a middleman, right? Like most retail, right? You had the manufacturer, Ford, and then you had Tom Benson, and he is taking your product in wholesale and then selling it out in retail. That's what was happening. Well, there was a huge lobby, right? And these franchise laws that were actually designed to protect the salesmen because they would work all the time, that prohibited car manufacturers from selling directly to the consumer. These are franchise laws. This is what Tesla was trying to get around. Now, Tesla wanted to sell directly to the consumer. They didn't want to do it to where, an individual person or retailer would take it back and then sell. Because you're always going to pay for more. You're always going to pay more because now you have a middleman. Now you have a retailer. You have a whole other market there in the middle that needs to pay overhead, employees, benefits, all this other stuff. So you get it at a markup. So the reason you don't really see that in other retail is because manufacturers will sell in bulk to smaller retailers. They sell them in large quantities. They have to spend X amount of money. They have to buy so much. And that just a normal consumer can't do that, won't do that. But as far as like these individual retailers, that's why they're getting, there's not as many. There's like a handful now because companies are now able to sell these products directly to the consumer. But these franchise laws, Elon Musk was just trying to get around, and he did in some cases. But then you had the lobby, the dealership lobby, trying to enact more legislation to not allow that competition to happen because they didn't want to set a precedence. They didn't want Elon Musk to come in and say, hey, I can sell directly to the consumer. And so they tried to lobby, and in some cases they were successful, saying that it removes certain protections. Well, they're full of crap. All right, so the dealership lobby is full of crap. So what Tesla was doing is they were opening up retail locations. I won't say retail. I'll say showrooms. They were having showrooms. And they would have these in malls and other things. They had this in Dallas when I was there. You would go in and you would look at a Tesla. Could you order one there? No. They would direct you to a website that you could order it from. I don't know exactly the ways around it, but that's exactly what they did. You could not order anything specifically there, but they would direct you to a website. Well, you can't buy it here, but here's where you can. But here's a showroom. So you're circumventing the law. You're not breaking it, you're circumventing it. Because the law is stupid, right? Texas has some of those franchise laws out there, and it's really ridiculous. So that's the kind of world that we live in right now, is that you have companies that try to protect their business model through legislation. In a lot of cases, that never works out because as smart as you are, as hard as you work to enact legislation, progress moves faster than Congress ever will. They are going to be behind by light years by the time the next thing comes out. And so we never prepared for laws. We never prepared for digital distribution. We never prepared for the internet and how fast how fast connections and information can be exchanged. And sometimes you kind of pay for that because the things that were normally checked and that were regulated now really can't be. We kind of saw that earlier this month with everything that happened with all of these Twitter bans and everything like that, and the type of speech and vitriol that was going around. Even though there were no laws against that, there are certain laws, but it would have taken a really long time for it to go through the courts. These companies decided to act on their own and shut some people up. But you're always going to have progress, especially technological progress, outpace legislation. So now you're always going to see new legislation trying to protect an archaic business model like dealerships and franchises and things like that, and stop businesses from moving forward and being progressive until the new thing comes up and they're like, okay, now there's not a law. They can have this business model and have it go on for 10 years before anybody even acts on it. And that's kind of the world that we live in business and progress and technology, anyways. But I've been on for about 41 minutes. It's almost 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. But I want to thank everybody for checking me out for a little bit. I go on some rants. I have a lot of things to talk about. I have a lot of opinions from time to time. But I generally like to stay away from politics when I'm talking to a large group of people, all 4 of you that are watching right now, because there's never really any progress that's made. It's just sometimes it can turn into an argument. Now, I'll be happy to give insight as to processes of government, as to what will happen next or what can happen. But when we start talking about ideologies and things like that, it's probably best just to stay away from it. You just will never win. Religion and politics, even though I have very colorful opinions on it, best to stay away from it. But anyways, good night, everybody. Have a safe Tuesday night. If you're up there in the Northeast, if you're down here in the Southeast, stay warm. It's chilly. It's the Toast. Sign.